Most people don't actually see themselves the way others see them. And the reason for this is because you live in your own skin every day. So you get used to your reflection, your habits, and your flaws. Because of this, you often underestimate just how attractive you are. You might think that you're invisible or below average, but if you see even some of these 25 signs I'm about to share with you, just know that you're way more attractive than you give yourself credit for. Let's get started. Sign number 1. Strangers act kinder around you. If random people treat you with more patience or go out of their way to help you, that's often tied to attraction. A stranger letting you cut in line, being overly polite, or smiling at you more than usual can be signs that they're subconsciously drawn to you. People naturally extend more grace to those they find appealing. You might not notice this because you assume that's just how people are, but compare how they treat you versus someone else in the same situation. Attraction quietly shifts human behavior, and if you see this pattern repeat with different people, that's a sign you're standing out more than you realize. 2. People try to impress you without you asking. A clear sign of attraction is when people suddenly raise their game around you. They might talk about their achievements, dress better, or act more confident when you're nearby. This isn't arrogance. It's a subtle way of competing for your attention. They want you to see them as worthy of your interest. You might think they're just showing off, but the timing matters. If their behavior shifts when you enter the scene, it's not random. It's them subconsciously trying to match the value they feel you bring. That's one of the strongest hidden proofs that you're more attractive than you think. Number 3, women assume you're already taken. One of the strongest signs of attractiveness is when people assume you're already in a relationship, even when you're not. You've probably heard someone say, "Wait, you don't have a girlfriend?" Or, "How are you still single?" That kind of question doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from the fact that you give off the vibe of someone people would want to be with. This happens because your presence feels complete. You carry yourself with confidence, self-respect, and calmness. People assume that someone like you must already be taken because you seem secure and grounded. And that kind of energy is rare. It doesn't look needy. It looks like someone who's already loved and cared for. The irony is, if you don't brag, overshare, or try too hard, people become even more convinced you're off the market. Why? Because you don't look like you're desperate for attention. And in a world where so many people are constantly trying to prove their worth, your quiet confidence stands out. So when women act surprised that you're single, don't brush it off. That reaction is usually based on how you present yourself, and the fact that people assume someone else already wants you is a sign that many people probably do. 4. You've had multiple occasions where someone obsessed over you. At least once or twice, someone's probably gone overboard for you. Maybe they chased hard. Maybe they couldn't let go. Maybe they kept finding ways to stay in your life, even when you pulled back. That obsession doesn't happen for no reason. Attractive people trigger intense emotions. Sometimes it's admiration, sometimes it's attachment, and sometimes it turns into obsession because that person can't figure out why they're so drawn to you. They just are. You might brush it off like they were just weird. But it's not just about them. It's about the effect you had. If this has happened more than once, that's a clear signal that your presence carries more weight than you realize. Sign number 5, you get chosen more than you chase. Attractive people often get picked by friends, by lovers, even by strangers. People want them on their team. They want to sit near them, talk to them, or work with them. If you notice that people naturally gravitate towards you, or you get invited into circles without much effort, that's a sign. You're not chasing, you're getting chosen. This doesn't always feel obvious. You might think, they're just being nice, or I just happen to be there. But over time, patterns don't lie. If you're constantly getting included, prioritized, or pulled into things, it's because people see value in having you around. That's not luck, that's presence. Even in dating, you may find that people initiate conversations with you, flirt with you first, or make it easy for you to take the next step. That's not normal for everyone. That's what happens when people find you attractive. 6. People remember your face, even if they forget your name. Have you ever had someone walk up to you and say, "I know you from somewhere," or "You look so familiar"? That's not random. It's because your face made a mark. There's something about your look, your smile, your eyes, your expression that stuck in their memory. Attractive people are memorable. Not always because they're the most traditionally good-looking, but because their features, energy, or presence create an emotional imprint. Something about you pulls focus, even if only for a few seconds, and the brain remembers what grabs attention. Most people don't get remembered. Think about how many faces you pass by every day that you forget instantly. So if someone recalls seeing you, even from a brief moment, that means you stood out. That means you made an impression. 7. People respect your opinion more than others. You've probably had moments where you gave a simple opinion, and people paused, nodded, or adjusted their view based on what you said. That kind of influence doesn't come from just being smart. A big part of it comes from how you carry yourself, and yes, how attractive you are. When people find you attractive, they tend to place more weight on your words. It's not always fair, but it's real. Humans are wired to associate physical appeal with credibility. So if people look to you for advice, trust your input quickly, or seem extra careful when responding to you, it could be because you subconsciously hold more sway. The cool thing is, you might not even realize it's happening. You speak, people listen, and you just think it's normal. But look around. See how others struggle to get the same attention or validation you get easily. That's when you start to realize your words are landing differently. It's not just about being right. It's about the aura you have when you speak. If people treat your opinions with more respect than the average person, you're probably not just being heard. You're being seen as someone whose voice matters. That's attraction in action. Number 8. People try to impress you even when you don't ask. If people randomly bring up their accomplishments around you, start flexing what they've done, or try to act more put together when you're around, it's not an accident. That's them trying to earn your attention. Attractive people trigger a subtle desire in others to prove themselves. It's like their presence sets a higher bar, and people want to rise to it. So they start mentioning their job title, their projects, their goals, anything to look valuable in your eyes. This is often unconscious. They're not even doing it on purpose. You might think they're just being confident or talkative, but if this pattern shows up often, especially with people who just met you, it's usually a reflection of how you make them feel. They don't want to be average around you. They want to stand out. 9. People get nervous or fidgety around you. Sometimes when you walk into a room or sit beside someone, they suddenly get awkward. They play with their phone, adjust their posture, or stumble over their words. That's not always because they're shy. It's often because you make them nervous. Attraction can cause people to lose their usual cool. They become overly conscious of how they look, how they sound, and what they're doing around you. They're trying to manage the version of themselves you're seeing. That nervous energy is actually a compliment. Most people don't get this kind of reaction from others. So if you notice that people get jittery, overly polite, or awkward when they're around you, don't overlook it. That's often because they see you as someone who matters, a person whose attention they care about. 10. People look at you when you're not talking. Have you ever sat in a group and realized people keep looking your way, even when someone else is speaking? That's not just about what you're saying. It's about who you are in the room. Your presence alone draws attention. Attractive people often become the anchor in social settings. Even in silence, people are aware of them. They subconsciously track their facial expressions, look for their reactions, and check if they're laughing. Why? Because your energy has weight. 11. People don't like sharing you. Attractive people tend to bring out subtle jealousy in others. You might notice that certain friends or romantic interests act weird when you give attention to someone else. They suddenly get cold, distant, or try to pull your attention back to them. It's because people feel possessive over people they find attractive or valuable. They want to be your main focus, even if they can't say it out loud. So when your attention shifts, they feel insecure, like they're losing something special. This kind of reaction reaction usually flies under the radar. You think they're just in a mood. But if this keeps happening with different people, it's a pattern. People don't get territorial over someone they're not drawn to. Sign number 12. You get underestimated in a weird way. Attractive people are often judged based on how they look, not what they can do. So, weirdly enough, you might find that people don't expect you to be smart, skilled, or deep. They're surprised when you prove them wrong. This happens because your appearance creates a kind of bias. People assume that if you've got the looks, you probably don't have much else. So when you speak intelligently or show real ability, they're caught off guard. If you've ever had someone say, "Wow, I didn't expect that from you," it's likely not because you looked incompetent, it's because they were distracted by your presence. That's a hidden compliment, even if it doesn't feel like one. 13. People open up to you quickly. When someone finds you attractive, they tend to trust you faster. That trust leads to oversharing. You might notice strangers telling you personal stories, coworkers revealing more than they should, or new friends getting deep fast. It's not just about being a good listener. People feel emotionally safe around those they find appealing. Your tone, your eyes, your vibe, it creates a space that feels comforting, and that makes people lower their guard. You might think, people just like talking to me. But if it happens all the time, it's more than that. It means you give off warmth and charm, two key ingredients of real-world attractiveness. People don't open up like that for no reason. 14. People copy your style or ideas. Attractive people often become trendsetters without trying. You wear something and suddenly someone else wants to try it. You say something in a certain way and others start repeating your phrases. That's not a coincidence. That's influence. When people find you appealing, they subconsciously want to be more like you. Copying your style, energy, or way of speaking is a way of borrowing a little bit of what makes you stand out. It's a form of admiration that isn't always verbal. You might think they're just copying because they liked it. But why your thing? Why your shirt or your way of doing things? The truth is, your presence makes things more appealing. People want to absorb a little of that shine. If this keeps happening, especially with different people, it's not luck. It's a quiet sign that others are drawn to you and want to reflect your energy. That's not just influence. That's quiet, powerful attractiveness. 15. People seem to enjoy talking to you. Some people talk out of politeness, but when they talk to you, it's different. They light up, they lean in. The conversation keeps flowing even when there's nothing important being said. It's not just what you say, it's how people feel when they're around you. Attractive people tend to make others feel seen. Your eye contact, body language, and presence make people feel valued, even if you're just being yourself. That comfort makes them open up, laugh more, and linger longer. If people seem to hang around you a little too long, or keep looking for excuses to talk, that's not random. It's because being near you feels good. And that, by itself, is one of the most underrated signs of real-world attractiveness. Number 16. People go out of their way to help you. You might not ask for favors, but somehow people still offer. They give you directions before you ask. They hold the door longer. They step in when you're stuck. This isn't just about kindness. It's about influence. People are more inclined to help those they feel drawn to, even if they can't explain it. Your presence makes them feel like they want to be useful to you. It's not something you force, it just happens naturally when your vibe is strong. This kind of treatment usually doesn't happen to people who blend into the background. If you notice people putting in that extra effort around you, it's often because they're quietly impressed by you, and they want to stay in your good graces. 17. You rarely get compliments on your looks. This sounds like a contradiction, but it's one of the biggest clues. Sometimes, the more attractive you are, the less people say it out loud. Why? Because they assume you already know, or because they're too shy, or because they don't want to look thirsty. People think they probably hear it all the time, so they stay silent. Or they compliment something else, like your outfit or your vibe, instead of directly calling you attractive. That silence is often a weird kind of respect. So if you've noticed that people stare, flirt, or treat you nicely, but don't actually say you're hot, that doesn't mean you're not. It might mean you are. So much so that they assume it goes without saying. 18. People are surprised by your insecurities. You've probably opened up about your self-doubts at some point and heard things like, "Wait, you feel that way?" Or, "I never would have guessed." That surprise isn't fake. It's real confusion, because you don't look like someone who should feel that way. Attractive people often seem confident from the outside. You carry yourself in a way that makes people assume you've got it all figured out. So when you show vulnerability, it clashes with the version of you they've built in their mind. That disconnect is a sign of how others perceive you. If your insecurities surprise people, it's because their version of you is someone too good, too put together, or too desirable to feel that way. That says a lot. 19. Others tend to have strong feelings about you, good or bad. You walk into a space and people either love you instantly or feel threatened. There's rarely a middle ground. That's because you're not forgettable. You have a kind of presence that pushes people to form opinions quickly. Attractive people naturally stir up emotions. Some want to be close to you. Others want to compete with you. Some admire you. Others feel insecure around you. But very few are neutral. That's the cost of standing out. If you notice that people either get obsessed with you or act weirdly distant, it's probably not about something you said. It's your energy. You don't blend in. And even if that feels uncomfortable sometimes, it's a sign that your presence has real impact. 20. People stare at you a little longer than normal. You've probably brushed it off as random. Maybe you thought, "Why is that person looking at me?" But if you regularly notice people holding eye contact a little longer or glancing at you from across the room, it's not a coincidence. People naturally look longer at things they find interesting, beautiful, or magnetic. They're not trying to be creepy, they're just drawn in. What's crazy is that many attractive people misinterpret this attention. They think they have something on their face or that their outfit is weird, but no, they're just being admired, silently. The stare isn't just visual, it's instinctual. Attraction makes people pause, even when they don't realize they're doing it. 21. People mirror your actions without thinking. When someone is drawn to you, their body tends to copy yours. They cross their arms when you do, lean in when you lean forward, or even start using the same phrases you use. This mirroring is a natural psychological response. It's the body's way of building connection with someone they find magnetic. If you've caught friends, coworkers, or even strangers subtly copying you without trying, it's not random. It usually means they're tuned into your presence and trying to align with your energy. That's attraction working on a deeper, unconscious level. 22. Others remember small details about you. For instance, someone you barely know might remember your favorite drink, the story you told weeks ago, or a small preference you casually mentioned. This shows that they're not only listening, they're prioritizing you in their memory. Most people forget things quickly unless they care. So if you find others recalling details about your life more than you expected, it's a signal that you're holding space in their minds. Attractiveness isn't only about turning heads, it's about staying memorable long after you've left the room. 23. People ask if you model. This one might sound specific, but it happens to a lot of attractive people. Someone looks at you and casually says, "Are you a model?" Or, "You look like someone I saw in an ad." That's not just a compliment, it's recognition of your presence, your face, your energy, your aesthetic. Even if you've never stepped in front of a camera professionally, people can still pick up on that kind of look. You photograph well, you carry yourself with poise, and you give off the vibe of someone who belongs in front of an audience. You might laugh it off or get shy, but deep down, this kind of question doesn't come from nowhere. People are picking up on something, your symmetry, your confidence, or the way you move through space. So if someone has ever asked if you model, even as a joke, don't dismiss it. That's a serious compliment. Most people never hear that in their life. If you have, it means you stand out in a big way. 24. You've been accused of leading people on when you weren't. You were just being nice. You smiled, made a joke, maybe gave them a compliment. That's it. But suddenly, they're acting like you owe them something. They're hurt, they're distant, and someone tells you they thought you were into them. This happens a lot to attractive people. You're not being flirtatious, you're just being warm. But because of how you look and how people feel around you, even basic kindness can feel like romantic interest to others. It's frustrating. You didn't ask for this reaction, but it's a side effect of being the kind of person others admire or dream about. People interpret your actions through a lens of desire, even when that wasn't your intent. If this has happened to you more than once, it's a strong sign. You're not leading people on. They're just reading too much into your natural charm because they're drawn to you. 25. Relationships seem to come easy to you. You've probably noticed people get attached to you faster than normal. They want to date you, commit to you, or say, I love you quicker than expected. It's not because you're rushing things, it's because you feel like a prize. And when someone feels lucky to have you, they move fast. Attractive people naturally make others fall harder and quicker. There's something about your energy, your presence, or your looks that creates emotional urgency. The other person doesn't want to lose their shot, so they cling tighter, invest more, and sometimes get too serious too soon. You might think, why does everyone want something serious with me? Or why do people open up so fast? It's because your attractiveness builds trust and desire quickly. People don't just like you, they want you, and that makes relationships move faster than average. If relationships seem to come easy to you, or if people act like being with you is a win, that's not luck, that's value. You're more desirable than you realize, and people can feel that when they get close.